So this is week 15 of my WGU accounting degree. And updates for this past week. So today's Sunday. It's actually Sunday evening because I spent s- most of today studying. So let's see. Last week I left off saying that I was going to take the test for D104 Intermediate Accounting, and I did. So I took it on Monday, and I remember I wasn't sure if I was going to take both tests Monday or if I was going to wait to take the second exam, like the second half of that course's test. But what happened? Um, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget what to say. So let me pull that up. Okay, so last week I finished the reading Sunday night. That last lesson was a lot to read. As mentioned, intermediate accounting, there's just so much crammed into that course, just so much information. From the course resources, there is a video about the equity section. So I watched that recording to help me prepare for the test. And so that was helpful. Monday, scheduled exam one, I took that test. Uh, on Monday, I woke up. I was still not sure if I was going to take the test. So I decided, you know what? I need more time to study. I'm not going to try to make this happen. I'll just do test one, do test two next week. And that was what I had decided. So Monday morning, I woke up early, uh, got some studying in before I had to do some other work. And let's see, and I'm just looking at my notes to make sure I don't forget anything. So I woke up earlier. I studied more before a meeting I had. I watched that equity section video. I noticed the actual problems that were going to be tested weren't as hard as I thought because a lot of that last lesson was about the equity accounting and all of that. And the textbook goes deeper into the topic than what the test actually requires you to do and to know. And so when I was reading that section and watching the video, I thought, there's no way I can learn this to take the test by Monday. But when I watched the review video, I realized, oh, what they actually want us to know, I can do that. I understand that part already. So that afternoon, I had some free time on Monday, and I figured let's just take the practice for the second test now. Because my the OA, part one exam was scheduled later that day, and I had free time beforehand. So I just took the practice test for the second exam. And it was easier than I expected, and I did better than I expected. I passed it on the first go, and I passed it with, I think it was competent. So I decided, you know what? I'll just take the OA, the final exam, the second exam today too. If I don't pass it, I'll just take it next week. It's fine. So I took the first one, passed that one, scheduled the second one, and passed it. So I was like really excited. And I would say the actual test felt a bit easier than the practice. Again, this is just based on my experience, but it felt easier. So yeah, I was just so relieved. Um, I knew the concepts, I understood the question, I passed it, and I was done. I was done. So that was good news I wanted to share. And then once I passed that, the next day, Tuesday, I started reading for D105 Intermediate Accounting 3. And I started reading Tuesday. I set up a plan, so I tried to read one module each day. Technically, it was basically one unit because each module kind of is the only thing in each unit. So I got through, let's see, one, two, three, four. Because it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I got through about 4 units during the week. And then yesterday, Saturday, in the afternoon, I spent all day reading. My goal is to finish reading everything Saturday so I could have today just to review. And I did it, finished it like after midnight, but I got all the reading done yesterday. So this time around, I decided I'm going to read all the text first for each lesson. Then I was going to watch the videos. So remember I mentioned the videos in intermediate two they felt I felt like they were confusing me more than helping, unlike intermediate one. And that really helped. Because like reading it, I got to think about it, pause, um, take a break if I needed to. And then when I went back to the video, it kind of was like a second overview of what I just read. So it didn't feel like because some of the chapters, they would have the video first, like, just no intro, nothing, just watch the video, and the videos typically would go into, like, deeper into the topic than the actual textbook did, and that, it like, watching the video after reading was just, like, extra information, extra overview, so that I feel like that works better for me. Um, so I have a note here that it was super important to learn how to record bonds and calculate effective interest because that same concept applies here in Intermediate Accounting 3. Because like calculating effective interest shows up for the leases, for learning how to um, understand leases and recording bond, like how amortization works, interest, that also applies with leases and the other securities they go over. So since I struggled before to learn those concepts, I was so glad that I still remembered it because it definitely applies. It makes it easier to understand debt investment recording. This time doing the reading just felt extra hard. I think my brain's just done with intermediate accounting. It just wants to be done with it. So at some points, I use the textbook narration feature. Just turn that on so it could read it to me. Uh, and I think I put it on like I sped it up. It wasn't on 1x, just to help me get through some parts because I was just having a hard time going through all the material. So for the practice test, practice the test one practice, I didn't pass the first attempt. I reviewed what I missed, then retook it and passed it. And a big part of that was just the Excel. Uh, goal Answering the questions for the Excel part reminded me of when I first started learning about debits and credits when I took my bookkeeping course a few years ago. Because as a new learner, if the questions and information presented aren't consistent, it makes it really hard. It makes it hard to determine how to answer. So let me back up. Um, right now, after having experience with debits and credits, if someone gives me an account called cash, or it kind of has a different name like petty cash, something else with the word cash in it, I know what to do with it, like in a journal entry. But when I was learning, it was really hard for me to see like if they didn't consistently keep the name cash, if they changed it to bank account or petty cash or something else, I was confused. I didn't have enough experience to know if they were the same thing. I should treat them differently. And so I see that in kind of inconsistency presenting a new topic happening with the intermediate accounting and specifically that Excel part on the test, the practice test. So anyway, I think I've gotten down what I need to remember for the actual test, but just FYI, if yeah, that Excel part did give me a bit of trouble. And it wasn't that it was hard, it was just again learning that what do they want me to know even though this is new material and I feel like they present some of the info inconsistently. Okay, what other notes did I have? So other things that were helpful for intermediate accounting 3, figuring out deferred tax asset versus deferred tax liability. That was hard. And only because of how they explained it. ChatGPT was a big help with this. I just kept asking it questions until I clarified the concepts and can explain it clearly for myself. And this is something I've gotten a lot better, especially with this degree. I just identify what part of the concept is fuzzy in my head. And usually it's multiple things are fuzzy, so I just have to start with one. And then I have questions about that fuzziness until that becomes clear. And then I move on to the next fuzzy part. And then eventually it's all resolved and like the concept's clear. So other things I noticed is just I guess it's just interesting about the text, but there's a part about accounting errors. And so that reminds me of doing bookkeeping cleanups, which I really enjoy. So that part was pretty easy to read through because I kind of already learned some of these concepts when I took like how to do bookkeeping cleanup course. And another thought I had in this section was I remember when I first started bookkeeping, I was really confused why accountants with accounting degrees, they went to 4-year school, sometimes masters, they worked in corporations, and they would show up in the same Facebook groups that I was in or in other online forums saying that they didn't understand how to handle small business clients, and they were gonna wanted to take, like, some other course or asking about it. I was just so confused because I felt like with all their experience, they should know what to do. But now I know after reading the textbooks, like for all these classes, that all they learned in school is about corporation. Um, like I think a couple times the text will mention small businesses, how important they are to the US. And then it moves on. It doesn't really talk about them. You just learn all about corporations. So now I understand why accountants can sometimes be confused when working with smaller clients. Okay, so that's it about intermediate accounting 3. And then I just wanted to like briefly address someone had asked a question in the comments a while ago. So thanks for your patience. I'll like get to it. They wanted to know about my like let's see. They wanted a video describing the textbooks. Like, are they really long chapters? Do you have to read the whole book for the course? And then how much are the books? Um, so let me answer those one at a time. So the textbooks, I would say there's two types. So there's the accounting textbooks, the ones that are focused on the accounting material. I would say those are pretty those can be long just because there's so much information to get through. They're usually pretty organized. Like I mentioned, sometimes there's usually videos, multiple videos per chapter. And I would say for the accounting ones, you should read the whole book. Um, you yeah, you should read the textbook, and they recommend it too. Like read through the textbook, watch the videos, and then take the chapter quizzes, because that gives you a good idea on how much you've understood from the material and what kind of questions they're probably going to ask on the practice and then the real test. So that's the first type. The second type I would say is like the textbooks for the soft skills topic, like how to be a good manager or how to use your emotional intelligence. And so for those, the text varies. Sometimes they're really long, but it just feels like I don't know, regurgitation from a really bad AI prompt. And so for those, I would say, especially if your test is a task, like an essay you have to write, I don't read the whole textbook. I just go look at the task prompt and then go to find the information in the book and then just do write my answers and submit that task. So it depends. Accounting textbook, yes, you should read through it or take in all the info. If it's not accounting specific, check the task. If there's a test, you might want to read through it or at least take the practice to know what information you need to know to pass the test. All right, so let's see. The other question, how much are the textbooks? It's included in your tuition. If you go to it's in your portal, like a finance tab, but you can see like how much you paid and how much of that goes for your paying for your textbook. I believe they say you can get a physical copy, but that is extra. But check your portal because I'm not sure about that. I just use the online textbooks. And then I would say if you're a slow reader, using that narration feature was actually pretty good. This was my first time using it this past week. And you can change the speed like an audiobook. The voice isn't maybe the best unless you don't mind more of a like robotic voice. I don't think it's a human voice. But it works, especially if you just need to get through it. And then using those course resources, usually especially the accounting classes, they'll have like a doc with extra videos to watch. And you can also make an appointment with your professor, attend the live cohorts that you can review with the professors. And so maybe you could use that too uh, to help you to get in the information and not only get it from the textbook. So, but yeah, hopefully that helped. So this week, so today for Intermediate Accounting 3, I finished reading yesterday on Saturday. Today I'm reviewing for the test. I've scheduled the first exam tomorrow, Monday. All the testing times were taken up in the afternoon, so I'm just gonna have to do in the morning. And then after I pass that, I plan to take the second exam, and then start my next course this next coming up week. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for following along so far and see you next week.